Well, just like that, we have reached the end of 2023. And man, let me tell you, it has been a busy year for me. Probably even my busiest year as a musician to date, which I'm pretty sure is what I said about 2022. So yeah, it just kind of seems like the older I get, the more projects I take on every year. But I also finish way more projects than I used to. So yeah, no, I'm okay with that. Also, in 2023, I learned that I absolutely hate talking in front of a camera. So yeah, here's some footage of me changing the strings on my Sterling SR50 guitar that I got this year. And you can just listen to my voice. How about that? Anyway, 2023 was a big one. I spent the first, maybe 5 or 6 months just working on my new album, which, by the way, is going to be coming out next month, January 2024. I'm going to post more about that really soon. But I had written most of the stuff and I started recording drums, and I got to the point where I had done drums, bass, guitar, most of the vocals. And in June, I kind of hit a point where I realized, yeah, no, this isn't sounding right. Like this whole album, the songs I love, right? And all the pieces are kind of there, but there's something that isn't quite hitting right with it. So I did the unthinkable, and it took a huge plunge that I don't recommend you do if you're a musician or an artist, but sometimes in, extreme circumstances, you got to do it. And I recorded the entire thing again from the ground up, except this time I had a much better idea of what the songs were going to sound like in the end, and I had a clear picture in my head to aim for. So it was kind of like I spent the first half of the year just demoing the entire album so that I could do it again and make it even better. But thankfully, it was all worth it. I mean, I'm extremely proud of this record. It's gotta be the best thing I've ever written. It's got everything that I've always wanted to do in an album on it, and I think it's better than anything else I've written or recorded. I'm going to save some of those other thoughts for when I make the official announcement and everything like that in about a week or so. But yeah, largely what I did this year was record an album twice, which is pretty crazy looking back on it. But what's even crazier is that mixing my own album twice in a year apparently wasn't enough, because I also mixed a full-length studio album for the Virginia-based indie rock band Films on Song. Their album Slightly Nightly, which actually just came out in October. They had contacted me back in May to mix this full-length album. I had previously worked with them on mixing the Fake Endings EP, which was 4 songs that I mixed, and also added a couple of little synthesizer and guitar tracks. And this was very much the same thing, just on a much bigger scale. The songs were bigger, they were recorded in a proper studio, and there were just more of them. But in addition to mixing those, I added a couple tracks there too. Some guitar, some synth, some backing vocals. Not a whole lot. It's like 99.9% them, but there's just a couple little things I added in there to kind of spice things up and round out certain parts of the mix, which is part of why I love working with that band. It's pretty rare for a mixing job to also include you adding your own tracks into something. That not only crosses the line from mixing engineer into producer, but starts to blur the line between producer and songwriter, which, not really common when you're hired to mix something. So I really appreciate that I have that kind of relationship with them and that we sort of approach things in a similar way musically there. It's always really fun working with them. And anyway, the album is called Slightly Nightly, and it came out in October. Highly recommend checking that out. They're a really solid band. These are some great songs, and the mixing is pretty good, if I do say so myself. So now, taking just a quick detour, I want to point out another track that came out from a different artist this year that I had some involvement with. The artist is Sean Poole, and they released their debut EP this year in June called I Think I Have Something Here. Now, the first song on this EP is called Catfish, and back in 2022, I actually recorded the bass guitar parts for it. It was just kind of an experiment. He had written the song, but he needed the bass, and I knew we had a lot of the same influences like Nirvana and the Pixies, so I kind of gave it that treatment. To be honest, I forgot I had even done it, and then all of a sudden, in June 2023, he messages me, "Hey, it's done, it's out." And there you go. So the first song on I Think I Have Something Here, which altogether is a great EP. I love this guy's music, and in fact, he's released another album since this EP came out in June. And that album's great too. So Catfish by Sean Poole off of the EP I Think I Have Something Here. Check that out if you want to support another indie musician who I think is just really talented. Plus, you get to hear me play some bass. Cool. Moving on to a couple of random projects out of nowhere in September, I decided to do a full cover of the song Punk by Gorillaz, which was always one of my favorite songs by them, and I always wanted to cover it. Once I realized I hadn't put anything out in 2023, I figured, hey, now's the time. I even made a little video for it, so yeah, that was a fun little thing to do there. Now, as fun and lighthearted as that was, it was only about a week or two later that I recorded something very, very different. And this isn't something you're going to be able to find on my channel or on streaming or anything like that because it's a little too personal and a little too private. But long story short, a family member of mine who is going through some very heavy medical issues that I will not specify out of, respect for their privacy, contacted me because they had written some lyrics about their experience, some thoughts they were going through and had been struggling with, and they asked me if I could turn that into a song. It was a really intense request, but I read the lyrics and I felt very inspired and I knew exactly what I wanted to do with them. And in about a day, I had recorded a full song and given it to them and shared it with my family and a couple of close friends. Really proud of how it turned out, but it is one of those things that I'm likely not going to release publicly because it was really just for them, myself, and my family. Regardless, it was definitely a standout moment of this year, good or bad, however you want to look at it. And I felt really honored and moved by the fact that they trusted me with these lyrics they wrote, which were their most personal, deepest thoughts at the time as they were going through something just so strange and life-altering. And, they trusted me with those. It was really poignant reading them and putting them to music. But once I started doing it, I kind of just got engrossed in the process of it and recording and mixing and all this. And then when I knew it was done, and I sat back and I listened to it, yeah, it hit me pretty hard, man. It was a lot. So I thank them for allowing me that opportunity to do that, and I'm just glad that it meant something to them and it meant something to me and everyone appreciated it. Okay, moving on to something that is joyous and exciting and worth celebrating. I released my first vinyl record this year. A split single, 2 new songs, As Seen on TV and The Evil Child, and to make it even cooler, I had it printed on 7-inch vinyl, my first physical Hyper Chicken release. It was way more work than I thought it was going to be, but ultimately it was worth it and I'm really proud of the result. In addition to that, my buddy Nate and we made a music video for it together. We also made a hilarious infomercial skit to promote it. Everything we did for it was so much fun. And in addition to it being pretty successful as far as a lot of people bought the record, I was able to get the record into some local stores in the area. There's at least 3 record stores in the Chicagoland area that are currently carrying my record. And that alone was just the coolest moment of the year for me, and I'm so proud of that. It was so much work. My friend Nate, who's in the video, he's the one that did the artwork. He took just these crappy sketches I made and he turned them into pieces of art on the front and the back that I love the way they turned out. It was exactly what I had in my head and more. By the way, if you want one of those records for yourself, just head over to the Hyper Chicken Bandcamp. You can order them through there. I'll ship it to you, you'll get a sticker as well, and you'll get the digital version of the album with some bonus tracks to download right away. Otherwise, if that aspect of things doesn't really appeal to you or you don't want to spend the money on it, it's all digital as well, so you can check it out that way. And so the last project that I released this year was something a bit different. It was a compilation of a band that I produced and was sometimes even performing in called Secondhand Static, and I produced them for a few years in college. We recorded an EP together and 2 studio albums and all kinds of other, demos and live tracks, all this kind of stuff. And I decided that for the 10th anniversary that I would put all of it together in one compilation, quote unquote box set, and put that all up on streaming because it just didn't exist anywhere for people to listen to. And it also gave me a chance to kind of remaster some stuff and really dig up all these sort of rare tracks and odds and ends that I had been hanging on to for 10 years. So that's up now if you look up Secondhand Static and Pineapple Cavaliers. That's the other band name that it's listed under. You'll find all of that. It's 4 hours worth of music. Really, I did this for the band and for myself as a means of preserving all this work we did, but you might hear something you like too. So if you think that might interest you, go check out Secondhand Static on Spotify. And with that, we're basically at the end of the year. I mean, that was 2023. Let me tell you, it was absolutely crazy and hectic and chaotic, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't absolutely love it. I mean, I kind of thrive in this level of work now. It used to stress me out. Sometimes it still does, but for the most part, it just feels rewarding to put this much time and energy and effort into music. It's truly my life's passion, and the fact that this year I was able to express that in so many different ways was really special, and I'm very grateful for all of it. I'll cap out this video by just mentioning again that next month I've got a full-length album coming out. You'll see more of that posted on the channel and social media and all that kind of stuff within the next week or so. And I've also got a new live band that I've put together. We've been practicing for the past couple of months, and we're ready to start booking shows. I'm really excited about the way we sound, and I can't wait to perform with them. So keep an eye out for that in the Chicagoland area. If you can't make it to that, I'm going to do my best to get good video and audio of our performances and share that here. So until then, thanks for listening with me as I recap this year. It's really helpful and fun for me to do that, and I appreciate you taking the time. So I hope you had a good holiday, and I hope you have a safe new year, and we'll see you in 2024. Peace.